Hello, my name is Nancy Hines Glazer, and we're back with another wonderful installment of our Meet the Artist program. And today we're lucky enough to be talking to a gentleman whose artwork may be known to you, although his name may not yet be known to you. His name is Kevin O'Connell. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you.
And we're going to be talking about some of the wonderful work you've done for our community and the artwork that's posted out there for all to see. And I'd like to have you tell the audience a little bit about you. Let's start with that, where you got started and how you came to do some of the murals in town here in South Orange.
Well, I guess how I got started was I've always been the kind of go-to guy. Even in grade school, I was the kid who did the posters for, Valentine's Day stuff and Halloween, and into high school, same thing, dance posters and yearbook staff, and I managed to stay with it. I went to school at the University of Wisconsin-Madison for a couple of years in their art program, and then decided I wasn't a good student, and I thought I maybe could become a better artist on my own, which is kind of true and not true. It took a long time. But I ended up falling into outdoor advertising as a way of making a living in the early 80s, and have been painting large paintings of lots of different things, mostly products that you recognize, for all those years, and have gradually worked into doing my own mural work.
Okay, which brings us to some of the famous murals here in South Orange, right? What we are going to be doing is throughout the show we'll be showing some of the work that you've done both here in the immediate Essex County area and also some of those that are in New York. The most famous one I think that people are familiar with would be the one by the Blue Moon Diner.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are outside the Blue Moon. Tell us a little bit about that and when you did that.
Well, I was working on another project in Millburn, painting fake architecture on the side of the Haagen-Dazs store on Millburn Avenue, and was approached by the woman who was opening the Blue Moon Diner. And she explained what she was doing and explained what she wanted to do. I had this nice big blank wall under the overpass, and she thought it was begging for something. So we talked a little bit about what to do, and it took one late night watching TV alone at my house to give me the inspiration, really. I happened to turn on American Graffiti and watch for a little while and thought, this is it. This is what I need to put on the wall. I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin where the car culture of America was in full flower. So there were lots of inspirations there. 57 Chevys and well, you name it, it was there. And I wasn't one of the kids who had one of those big V8 cars, but I sure looked at them a lot. So this ended up being, partially inspired by the movie, partially inspired by things that I've had over the years. One of my vehicles is in the painting, and it's also, in an oblique way, my history of driving since I was 16. I guess most of the license plates that were on my family cars, and then the cars that I've owned are throughout the years too.
Great. So your actual license plate numbers are on the mural. Well, I know we're going to have a chance to see that when we go to break. What I think is interesting is that we're both from Wisconsin, and I don't want anyone thinking that's the reason I'm interviewing you now, although there is a deep connection, as you know, in the Midwest. But the cars that you chose, were they actually cars that you had or friends had? Or
they
how
weren't
did you
cars that I
select them?
had, and actually some of them, I think the yellow, the Deuce Coupe is something that came from American Graffiti. 57 Chevys, it's like an American icon. And really, the cars in the mural are not strictly factual. They're kind of my versions of a late 50s, early 60s Dodge, and there's I guess an Oldsmobile or kind of Pontiac thing. And, they're not real. But one of the funniest things that happened when I was painting is that some guys who were working on some of the duct work, I think, for the restaurant, came out and sat on their work boxes at the end of their work day and started arguing about what kind of cars they were.
Oh, no kidding.
And I had to explain, I had to say, guys, they're not really what you think they are. They're just what I remember, or some of the details I remember of these things. They're not real. No, that's a 57 Chevy. That's a 60 Pontiac. So, okay. So I let him argue
You
about
let
it.
them argue. And
And that was
nobody
that.
won and nobody lost.
Right,
And that's always
right.
a great
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Now, what we're going to be doing, I think, when we go away from for our break shortly, will be to show the Blue Moon Diner, also some of the others in town. We're going to talk a little bit about how you decided to go into that line of work. Because I understand that primarily it was advertising. Now it seems to be artistic renderings.
Well,
your
there's
vision.
kind of there's a gray area, I think, because I'm clearly the Blue Moon is advertising the presence of the diner, but it's also it's decorative, but it's also some kind of it is, I guess, public art too. It's meant to attract attention. It's meant to make people smile, but it's also
Right.
meant to direct them into the Blue Moon Diner.
That's true. Excellent. Well, so you're right. So there is still an advertising
Yes,
in a
there
subtle
is.
fashion.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think is so terrific is you've taken a public space that was unused or underused in a dark area, and it's now something of beauty, and we really appreciate that. What we're going to be doing is going away to break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk to Kevin a little bit more about his influences and where he sees his art to be going in the future. Thank you so much, Kevin. See you soon. Welcome back. We're going to talk a little more, Kevin, about some of the other work that's throughout the town. And I think one of the pieces most familiar to people is the one on Academy Street. Yeah, tell me a little bit about that. You had some interesting concept when you did that piece.
Well, the owner of the, I guess it was the Mid-Atlantic Bank building at the time, called me after seeing some work I had done in Newark for New Jersey Transit, and had me come out and measure the wall and look at it, decide what I thought was appropriate for it. And I spend a lot of time on roofs in New York City putting my rigging together and stuff, so I have a lot of time to look at cornices and windows and other building details. So unfortunately, I have a lot of that. Fortunately or unfortunately, I have a lot of that information in my brain. It's just there, ambient. So I decide to use it once in a while. And my concept was to kind of go into an archaeological vein and say that we're at the top of this hill. We were seeing the tops of buildings that existed in South Orange. Who knows when? Turn of the century, and the level of the town had just raised until you could only see the tops of the buildings, the top floor. Weird concept for the owner, but I decided that it didn't really matter, so that's what I did. He approved it, so there's no problem. So, and he also mentioned in our talking that there had been a school on that block, so that explains the academy facade, and we just did something basically architectural. It's something that was going to last for a long time, and interestingly enough, is that it really has been untouched by any kind of vandalism too, which I think is very, very cool. The neatest thing that happened though when I was painting that is I was here only on weekends, and the residents of Jesby House walked past every day when I was here and asked questions and kind of want help and you name it. They had all kinds of things to offer in terms of suggestions, and so it was a lot of fun to talk with them too. I met a lot of people. You wouldn't think that corner would be as busy as it is, but there's a lot of stuff going on. So I meet a lot of people at street level like that, which is actually one of the pleasant parts of doing this kind of work.
Right, because you really are actively working in the community and rather than in a studio somewhere.
Right.
Which of course is fulfilling for the artists, and when the product is done, it's great too. But it's just nice having the interaction. So we really appreciate your work to be able to look at it as we're driving by. Now, I know that you did another piece pretty well known in town, and that's kind of interesting how you developed that. That's over by the Barrett Center, I believe. Just tell our viewers a little bit about that, because I think that's pretty interesting.
This goes back a couple years when the Gallery of South Orange was putting together a show that was themed in environmental awareness, and I was invited to do something under the bridge, which is my niche
That's
right
your
now, I
specialty.
guess. And so, in thinking about what I'd like to do, I realized that a good part of my life is spent on the train coming into South Orange or going out of South Orange, and one afternoon, coming home from work, I bought a cardboard camera and pressed it against the train window and just shot as quickly as I could advance the film, and did a roll of film between, say, 280 and the train station here in South Orange. And when I had the film processed, I chose the 8 images that were actually taken within South Orange. So the images are, I think, between Mountain Station and the South Orange station. So it's, I guess people probably recognize the backs of their houses and the roof lines of their houses and their garages. And then the last panel is the Baird Center. So it's, basically it was about me riding the train and also arriving home on the train. And I guess I don't remember if I titled it, but I think it's about First Mountain, which at least as far as I know, that's what our mountain ridge is called up here, First Mountain. So you come around the corner on the train, you see First Mountain, and you're home.
It's terrific. Well, I like it because it's a little surprise. It's hidden. I get a chance to see some art out in the out of doors, and one of the things I hope is that people will pay even much more attention to it now, because under the bridges need love too. You know, they need art to be there.
They do. Believe me, I look every time I ride under one of the bridges in our area. I think, maybe I should talk to somebody about painting something here, and it's kind of sick, I guess, that I keep thinking that. But I don't know. I don't mind being out of the weather too. You can paint in the rain. You can paint when it's sunny.
Exactly. It's protected under the ridge as well. I think art is where you find it, and the fact is that you're looking for places to maybe enhance the quality of life in the people in this area, and we sure appreciate that. So we give you a lot of credit for having your vision and going further with it. Now the other thing is you started in outdoor advertising, I believe, and you have done a number of pieces in New York, and some of the people may recognize some of the stuff we're going to show, and we'll be able to refer to that. But when you first came to the East Coast from Wisconsin, what was your first job?
Well, I worked for Gannett Outdoor, which is another large outdoor advertising company. I worked for them for a couple of years, and then decided that I wouldn't mind trying to work in the city. And the company I work for now is, I've been there for about 13 years, so a long-term employee. And we've painted just about anything you can imagine, from Armani to Joe Camel, and in scales that I could never have imagined 20 years ago before I got started in this. I thought of myself as an artist and a painter, but never thought that I'd be capable of making quality images that were as large as they are. So I painted things where you paint a face that was 40 feet tall on a brick wall, and when you're looking at these things, you don't think that you can actually do it until you pull it off, I guess.
Well, what we're going to be doing in just a moment is taking a bit of a break, and we wanted to let you know we're grateful because we're going to be doing a series on the murals of South Orange. A number of them are in public buildings, some are outside, some are inside, and we really appreciate your helping to contribute for this basic segment, and we look forward to seeing you in just a few minutes, so please join us again. I'm very excited about you doing this, I really am. Okay. Welcome back. We're going to talk a little bit now, Kevin, about a couple of the other murals that you've done, and one in South Orange, I think, right adjacent to the Blue Moon Diner, is something I want you to tell our viewers about, if you would. I love it.
I guess you probably all noticed a few years ago when the plastic ivy started growing on the New Jersey Transit overpass over South Orange Avenue. And I think it became apparent to the people who requested in the first place at Main Street, South Orange, and the village of South Orange, that the plastic ivy needed to be grounded somehow. And so the people at Main Street, South Orange called me and asked me if I would come up with something that would plant it. So I happened to have gotten, I think, a Smith & Hawken catalog in the mail that day or a few days later, and came up with a photograph of an Italian urn, and so that's what ended up on the walls.
So you have the Italian urns with the ivy
rusty Italian urns on pedestals with fake ivy growing out of them, and it attracts a fair amount of attention. I think it's kind of a fun joke. The ivy was put up originally to kind of mask the deterioration of the overpass, and so it's still deteriorating, but it looks a little
It
cooler.
looks a little better, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I thought it was real. So is that any help to you? I thought the urns were real also. But one of the things I wanted to have you share with our viewers is a little bit about some of the future projects you hope to do, if you can discuss them, or are they all confidential at
Well,
the
I don't know
moment?
if they're confidential as much as the fact that when I talk about things, they all sometimes don't seem to happen. So
You don't
I,
want to jinx it?
I keep quiet.
Okay.
I have a few things, I guess, in progress in South Orange. We'll see what happens. In most cases, they're on privately owned buildings, and the decision-making process is largely out of my hands after a certain point. I sometimes approach people, they sometimes approach me, and I try to come up with a concept that works for them. South Orange is, kind of a unique stage right now because so much is happening downtown, and I'd like to think that I'm part of positive change for the downtown area, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm doing too much, I guess. But I'd like to continue working here in town. I think it's a great fun, and as I said before, being at street level, working on projects, you meet great people. I have met a lot of people in the town, and in fact, I have to say, even though I kind of soft pedal a lot of what you might call my local notoriety or fame, I'm introduced to very many people by friends as the guy who painted the Blue Moon Diner.
Right.
And so that's how people know me. And,
There's worse things
well,
that could be
that's right. There are
associated
worse
with your name,
things,
don't you
yeah.
think?
So I really can't complain. I guess I was taught that you don't blow your own horn, and so my tendency is to keep things fairly quiet, but I don't mind. I don't mind the good feeling I get when people introduce me as that person. So
Do you sign your work, or do you sometimes not sign your work? I've understood that you like to keep that.
sometimes
that subtly
well,
to
the
an
commercial
extreme
stuff
now.
I really don't. I don't put my name
Okay.
on. My name, my kind of clandestine business name, and my phone number are in the Blue Moon Diner mural, but I'm not sure people really know that.
Okay.
The little white commercial truck all the way on the left side has a phone number and a name, and I call my business name Friday, and it is kind of a clandestine name because my full-time job is really only 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, so Friday has always been my business day, and so I'm your guy Friday.
That's really terrific. I love it when artists tweak the viewer to pay attention to things that they first off don't see. So I get a kick out of that. I appreciate that very, very much. Well, now, do you have an idea for your future goals outside of South Orange? Are there things that you're working on for things outside of our community, outside of the South Orange Maplewood area?
Yes, there are, and I would like to continue to expand my mural painting, both commercially and non-commercially. I love making images that have nothing to do with commercial pursuits, and I am occasionally given a chance to do that. And I'd like to see it go more in that direction, where things were not directly related to a business, where people are looking for something for an aesthetic reason.
For an aesthetic reason.
But I also don't mind the idea of making a business or connecting a business in a different way to the street.
So having advertising be also aesthetic. You can do both at the same time.
Yeah, you can do both. I think that there are probably people who would disagree with me, but I've been in the sign business really for a long time, and I think there's a way to do that. There's a way to find a balance between things that look very good and things that inform people.
Now, some of the pieces that are in New York, I understand, may also be advertising, and
Most of them
you
are
don't always
advertising.
notice, though, and that's why it's so terrific to me. You do notice enough. If you see it enough, you get it. But at first glance, you're looking at it for artistic value, and I would think that's hopefully what the viewer would always do when they're looking at something like that. So.
The outdoor advertising the industry has changed a lot, so there's less painting going on, but when I would say in the heyday of painting on walls and billboards, there was a mystique about it that is kind of going away, but there was a level at which you wanted people to look at it and not realize it was painted, but then maybe come to a slow realization that someone who actually had rendered that on the wall.
Right.
And that's changing. But there's still a fair amount of it done.
Alrighty, well, we only have about a minute left, and what I would like to do is propose something and see what you think. I've always had a vision that behind the town hall we should have a trompe l'oeil, which makes the town hall expand.
Oh, I like
and,
that
and
idea.
I think it would be a neat contest. You'd probably win. No, a contest for others to propose
Well-
their idea and see if we can expand the area of the town hall. What do you think? Okay?
I think it's a
All
great
right.
idea.
Well, what we're going to be doing when we close out the show, I'm sure we're going to be having another look at some of Kevin's work, and we really appreciate you coming out today on this beautiful day, and hope you enjoyed the show. Stay with us again for more installments of Meet the Artist. Thank you, Kevin.
And thank you very much.
Okay.